Prana. As we have already seen, the vital energy which enlivens the human body is known as prana. It is responsible for all the functions being carried out within the body. All these functions can be divided into 5 basic groups and are considered to be governed by the 5 different aspects of the prana. Each of these functional aspects of prana is felt to be more active in some specific region of the body and as such is described as being responsible for the activities of the specific organ systems situated in that region. Each of these functional aspects has a different name viz. Prana, Samana, Vyana, Apna and Udana. And each of these Sanskrit names etymologically signify the special characteristics of the functions governed by that particular aspect. The 5 major aspects of prana: Prana, Samana, Vyana, Apna and Udana. A. Prana. There is a continuous need of the energy for all the activities going on in the human body. When the internal energy is used up, it is necessary to replenish it by bringing in the energy from outside the body in the form of oxygen through the breath and nutrition through food intake. The functional aspect of the vital force which is responsible for this constant replenishment of the energy is known as prana. This word is formed with the prefix pra which means intensively or in the forward direction and the root and which means to breath or to bring about any happening related to living. Therefore, the term prana indicates all the happenings responsible for sustaining and continuing the life process, the major amongst which is a breathing activity. Its region of activity is from the nose down up to the chest. B. Samana. After having brought in the energy source, it needs to be converted into suitable form so that the body can use it and assimilate it. That aspect of the vital force responsible for this inner conversion of the energy source is known as samana. In this word the prefix sama means similar to that which is used by the body. Therefore, the term samana indicates the activity which converts the food etc. into a form similar to one which is used by the body. Its region of activity is in the upper abdomen, above the level of umbilicus. C. Vyana. After making the energy available in an usable form, it has to be transported to each and every cell of the human body. This transportation of the energy is controlled by that functional aspect of prana, which is known as Vyana. The prefix 6 in the word Vyana means separation or taking away, and thus the word Vyana indicates taking away of the energy to the separate areas. Therefore, its field of activity is the whole body. D. Apna. In the process of continuous utilization of energy required for the various activities, a lot of waste matter is produced. That aspect of the vital force responsible for expelling the unwanted waste matter like urine, feces and the outgoing air etc. out of the body is known as the apna. The prefix apa in this word means down or in opposite direction, and thus the word apna means which takes the waste matter away from the body. Its region of the activity is the lower abdomen below the umbilicus and the pelvic cavity. E. Udana. Apart from the vegetative functions necessary for the contribution of life, there are also many higher functions like expression and communication, through which the body-mind complex strives to rise above the mundane affairs. The functional aspect of prana, responsible for these higher activities, is known as udana. The prefix ud in this word indicates the upward direction, meaning thereby the more refined or more developed entity, and thus the word udana means that which is responsible for those activities which are more refined and subtle. Obviously, its region of activity is considered as the head and the neck. There are also many other minor activities mainly reflexive or instinctive in nature carried out by this prana, and their corresponding functional aspects have also been given some special names. For example, the one responsible for the regurgitation reflex is known as naga. The one responsible for the blinking reflex is known as kurma. The one responsible for the sneezing reflex is known as krikal. The one responsible for drowsiness is known as devdatta, and the one responsible for thirst is known as dhananjaya. From the above description, it is quite clear that the term prana here represents the life principle itself and all the biological and psychological activities driven by it. It is very interesting to note that in Chalka Sanhita in Sutra Sthana chapter 12, there are more than 17 distinguishing features ascribed to this prana or the Vyata as Ayurveda prefers to call it. It says that prana is the sustaining principle of life, the upholder of both the structure and the function of the body, the marshaller of all the body elements, the synthesizing principle in the body, the stimulator of the gastric fire, the eliminator of excrement and deobstruent of the gross and subtle body channels, the impeller of upward and downward movements, the impeller of speech, the inspirator of all the senses, the conveyor of all the sense stimuli, the controller and conductor of the mind, the origin of all excitement and animation, etc. Further, it says that when the functioning of the prana or vita is obstructed, it leads to impairment of bodily strength, loss of feeling of well-being, depression of the mind, giving rise to fear, grief, stupefaction, and overall disturbance in all the vital functions. Yoga also subscribes to the same view. The interconnection and interdependence of the physiological and psychological functions governed by prana is underscored when the Hatha Pradipika says that one who controls the prana can control the mind, and one who controls the mind, he alone can control the prana. Therefore, the practices which try to regulate the pranic activity are expected to involve the activity of the mind in their technique as well as in their effect. While practicing pranayama, therefore, it is strongly advocated that the mind should be applied to the practice itself, making the internal awareness as an integral and obligatory part of the pranayamic technique. In other words, it means that our inner awareness, which otherwise remains occupied with the Annamaya Kosha, should open out itself through the practices like pranayama to more and more subtle activities taking place in the pranayama kosha, Manomaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha, and then should learn to regulate all these activities with an aim to reach to state to Anandamaya Kosha.